Hello and welcome to PubShorts episode 82, Everything Counts, a title inspired by one of my favorite bands, Depeche Mode. My name is Dr. KK. I am sorry about that. So once again, this is episode 82, Everything Counts. My name is Dr. KK. I'm the Innovation Officer at Trinca and Inago, and I have with me Tony, who I think enjoys Depeche Mode.
Perhaps in the past, they're not one of my favorite groups, but they have written some very good songs.
Right.
And hello everyone, welcome to PubShorts. This is, as KK say, episode 82, and we're delighted to be here for our 82nd episode. This is PubShorts is a regular podcast where KK and I discuss different topics relating to research communication and research in general, policies, technologies, how they impact research. And this particular episode is called Everything Counts. Now, you may ask yourself why. Well, as you know, we like to give a music-related theme to every episode. So this particular episode is named after a song by the English group Depeche Mode, which KK referred to earlier on, from I think the single was from either 1982 or 1983. This is an old when I had hair. And this particular episode, Everything Counts, underscores that every citation, every retraction, every integrity check truly does count. You see what we did there? And we're going to refer to things like Clarivate's journal citation reports and suppressed impact factors, to AI-driven retraction predictions, and partnerships around image integrity, to see how each element shapes the credibility of scientific publishing.
Excellent, Tony. And you keep on bringing up this mythical era where you had hair, and we don't have any citation verification, any verification of this, and we need something.
Well, one day I'll wear a wig.
and you know what? This is a serious question. And if you want citation verification, if you want to trust a citation, that's when you look up the journal citation reports, and that's what we are starting off with, Tony. And we are starting off with a story from May, because we have to set the context as to what we are talking about. So Journal Citation Reports 2025 is a different version of it, because it does not anymore include citation from retracted articles in journal impact factor calculations. And so retractions are vital for maintaining research integrity, serving as a mechanism of self-correction. So this change reflects Clarivate's commitment to research integrity and trustworthy metrics. Now, retracted articles may make up only a tiny fraction of the scholarly record, which is about 0.04%. In the Web of Science core collection, which is the database on which journal citation reports is built, on impact factor is calculated. And citations from retracted content will be excluded from the journal impact factor numerator, but included in the article count of the denominator for transparency. So this is one further step from Clarivate in terms of making sure that research integrity is maintained as much as possible in the context of journal impact factor and journal citation report. So I'll take a brief moment to discuss a more recent story. Your thoughts on it, Tony?
Oh, listen, I remember when I used to work with libraries, very closely with libraries, I used to be told that the journal citation reports and those citation reports was the first thing that a library buys and the last thing that it cancels, because they're absolutely core to what those institutions do to support research, the measurement of research within their institutions. So I think taking this kind of action I kind of just reinforces how important these reports are and how valuable these are. I mean, my only question, of course, is how long does it take for a retraction to take place?
Right.
Will they retrospectively go back and adjust historical figures to remove retractions? I don't know, but I mean, it's a very positive. It's a very good step.
Right.
And I will say, if you're concerned about how your own research is being measured and whether you've selected the right references, we have tools. We have a reference quality checker, for example, which will determine if an article that you're citing has been retracted. You may not know it by the time you write your article.
Right.
So it checks the age of the reference, checks the citation. It even measures how often are you citing yourself. Right. So these reference quality checks are also an important tool to help the author, help the publisher in terms of managing the scientific content that's coming through.
Right. You brought up the reference quality check, which looks up, which also looks up all the citations in a manuscript and looks up impact factor and everything. So these keep on changing and these get revised every year. And
it doesn't so much look up impact factor, but what it will do is look up whether it's a valid reference, the age of the reference, whether it's been retracted, whether an author is citing
Yeah.
themselves too many times, is
Right.
is it a valid reference?
Right. I was confusing it with the journal finder product that we have. So anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
my point was that impact factor gets revised every year, and this year the revision or the revised impact factor. So what has happened is that 20 journals have lost their impact factors due to excessive self-citation and citation stacking. So this story we are covering from Retraction Watch, and some major publishers involved include MDPI, Sage, Springer, Taylor and Francis, and Wiley. And
yeah,
obviously there's a mention of as to the change of the numerator of the journal impact factor as well. And there are some journals being mentioned, including chemical methodologies and applied organometallic chemistry, were notably cited by each other. So it's a sort of, there is a citation mal function, I guess, in that. And so some publishers are already appealing or investigating the suppression decision. So your thoughts on this, Tony? I mean, from you've
yeah.
worked with publishers,
I
what?
have.
Yeah.
Listen, no publisher launches a journal with the intention of deceiving their research, their readership. These journals are launched with good intent, with good scientific ground, and good scientific reason. Unfortunately, what happens is that occasionally there are bad actors who try to gamify the process and try to play the process, and they need to be caught out and they need to be identified. They need to be removed, at least those papers, from the process. I think it's unfortunate that there seems to be a concentration with a small number of journals, and I'm sure it's unintentional on their part. Just they've fallen foul of some of the activities of their research communities.
Right. And for finding citation manipulation and other research integrity related flags, we need screening tools, and we have a story related to that. So this title, E-Workflow partners with Image Twin to preserve image integrity. So as the title indicates, E-Workflow has partnered with Image Twin, which is I guess one of the most popular brands in terms of image manipulation detection.
It is.
Yeah, and eWorkflow is the premier journal of science accepted into Scopus for indexing is another sort of story here. eWorkflow is also known to collaborate, or it's already collaborating with Grounded AI for citation verification, and it's partnering with Clear Skies to detect research fraud. So a bunch of, eWorkflow has integrated a lot of research integrity related automation to it, and this is very needed as you might when you meet publishers. These are some of the concerns that they want to flag
Absolutely.
for and
Yeah,
flag as
particularly around image manipulation detection, for example. I know we had to launch a service which sits on top of these image manipulation detection services that will verify whether what the tool has found out is actually correct, and what needs to be done to make necessary adjustments. Right. So that's a service that we offer to publishers.
Right, we are talking about research integrity issues, and we have another story from Retraction Watch, which is titled "Journal Tells Author It's Retracting 3 papers for concept that violates the law of thermodynamics." So this is a physics journal that has done this, and these 3 papers are written by the same rocket scientists, and I'm not taking the name of the scientists, seemingly of Indian descent, because their concept violates the law of thermodynamics. These papers were published in Physics of Fluids, describe a technique which has faced criticism, and previous works by the same author were also retracted for similar reasons. The journal's post-publication review highlighted that the paper's theoretical framework contradicts the second law of thermodynamics. The author has argued against the retraction, claiming that there is a misunderstanding and there's an international campaign to discredit his works, and the articles that the author has published are not yet marked as retracted, and the journal is investigating other submitted works by the same author. So one of the things that I thought we should discuss is that this is if you can find this in post publication peer review, you could probably find the same thing in peer review, pre-publication peer review as well. But then there is a crisis in terms of the lack of reviewers, and especially in such fields. So we need automation to sort of help support and reviewers as well as editors in terms of screening for such.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I don't want to speak about this particular paper. I don't know enough about the detail, but it strikes me that it's surprising that reviewers are allowed to get a paper which questions such fundamental laws to get as far as it did. I'm sure the author has got supporting evidence, and of course he will have, but it seems strange that it was allowed to get as far as it did. So it just highlights a clear case of greater integrity in peer review, greater integrity in the checking process. That things like the tools that we have through our Inago Reports product can offer.
Right. And we are talking about peer review and research integrity and automation related to it. So this is a research paper, open access research paper published in Research Integrity and Peer Review, a journal itself, and it's titled "Predicting Retracted Research: A Data Set and Machine Learning Approaches." So this article discusses a study focused on predicting research retractions using machine learning techniques. It covers the creation of a data set by aggregating information from the Retraction Watch database, which we often talk about, as well as the OpenAlex API, which we use as an Inago uses for Trinka and similar products. Various machine learning models were evaluated to predict article retractions, and their performance was measured in terms of accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 score, which are the common parameters that are used to evaluate the quality of the output and the consistency of the output by an AI model. The study highlights the potential of machine learning to assist in identifying retracted research and suggests further research to enhance model capability. So the one extra point that I picked up from it is that the Llama 3.2 base model was the one that achieved the highest, I guess, accuracy overall, which is an interesting thing. We use a similar model for some of our products. What are your thoughts on it, Tony? I mean, it is a good sort of a retrospective way to determine, based on previously retracted papers, whether we could identify new retracted papers as well. I mean, new papers.
This is an absolutely super intelligent way of using AI effectively to be able to track and compare, historical data. To be able to make predictions for the future. I think I'd love to see how this develops. This is really, really interesting to be able to predict, here, if 1,000 papers are submitted to journal A, what's the likelihood of a particular paper and why it would get retracted?
Yeah, and from your experience working with publishers, do you think publishers would like such sort of intelligence to guide them in terms of dealing with future submissions based on prior history?
I think it's slightly science fiction at the moment. But if a publisher had a tool on their desktop which will predict the likely retractability score of a paper, based on historical data, and if it's robust and reliable and effective and persistent, I can't think of a single publisher who wouldn't want to use it. It makes sense. Why publish something if there's a 99% chance it's going to get retracted in the future?
Right. And we have another story, which is it's a very interesting title. I'll ask you to answer this question before I go on with the points. Tony, are all papers or research papers created equal?
No, I don't think they are.
You're right. That's a main hypothesis of the story here. So this is published in Preprint Watch, which is a new platform aiming to identify potential paradigm shifts in scientific research, and it focuses on the epistemic role of papers rather than traditional metrics like citations, and it uses a deep reasoning agent named IQHN is what I pronounce it as, to classify papers into stages of scientific development. It analyzes preprints from sources like arXiv and bioRxiv to detect early signs of conceptual shifts. It is founded by a couple of founders, including Dr. Gareth Dyke. I think I've heard that name frequently, and it aims to improve efficiency of research funding and discovery. The platform, Tony, plans to introduce the Thomas Kuhn Prize in 2026 for disruptive preprints, and Preprint Watch challenges the current academic system's reliance on traditional metrics for evaluating research. I think it is a fantastic way of evaluating the contribution, the potential societal contribution, and the global contribution of preprint research, which is the pre-preview versions of the articles that you often see after peer review in published journals as well. So it's a fantastic way to determine the quality of research in a nutshell. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, again, I applaud the research. I sort of sidebar, I just want to say that I think, although preprints today are considered a relatively important stage in the process, their importance in the coming months and years is only going to increase significantly. There's a lot of work going on in the background in terms of how, in terms of quality perceptions and ensuring that the best research is going through preprints, various preprint services. So I think this is an important support measure for that.
Right, and now we enter the section of our episode where we talk about research integrity concerns vis-a-vis AI assistants, and we start off with a LinkedIn post by Alex Wang, who shares insights about the impact of AI tools on China's national college entrance exam. So apparently, AI tools like Alibaba's Quen and Tencent's Yuanbao are disable image recognition to prevent cheating during the exams. Over 13 million students take this critical exam annually, and in the
Yeah,
US, Tony, approaches to AI in exams vary, with some schools opting for handwritten text. So, just to contextualize, what the potential, the thing that they are preventing, these model vendors are preventing, is for students to scan, let's say, a problem or a question, and then generate the answers on their mobile phones or computers or something, and then
yeah,
get
yeah,
the answer. So, Alex, the author, mentions the importance of integrating AI thoughtfully in education, and there's a company called Gen AI, which is not the abbreviation for generative AI. There's a company called Gen AI has launched an open source multi-agent orchestration platform, which is related to this. I mean, it's mentioned in this. Alex Wang works for this. So she's, I guess, she's part of this company. So that is, we have to look for conflict of interest. But this is a sort of a very important aspect of AI assistance in the realm of education that we are talking about. And this is a concern, and we are concerned. Everybody should be concerned whether students are, let's say, abusing AI or misusing AI, and their learning outcomes are being impaired because of this. Your thoughts, Tony?
yeah, yeah. I agree, KK. I don't think we can stop students from using AI in the course of their education.
Mm-hmm.
However, there needs to be a point at which the amount of information, the amount of learning that has been absorbed, has been they've had, is measured.
Mm-hmm.
And using AI in examination surely is
Right.
doesn't give you any indication of how much that student has learned, apart from, how well can they use tools like AI to answer questions that they don't know the answers of themselves.
Right.
So I think there has to be a point where a line drawn. I think an exam is an important part of it.
Yeah.
Is that line?
Yeah, so this is in relation to, I mean, we'll talk about the responsible AI movement that we are heading in terms of ensuring that AI assistance is done responsibly and
Yeah.
everybody's
Well,
educated about it.
that's nothing to do with examinations, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah. So, the a related story. It's a story published in researchinformation.info. Its title, "Survey Reveals Gap in Ethical Publishing Knowledge Among Chinese Researchers."
Yeah, yeah,
This is. So 35.9% of respondents to a survey are unclear about authorship responsibilities,
yeah,
and gift authorship is a common issue, with many adding authors without proper criteria. Now,
yeah.
31% of,
Or permissions.
yeah, right. 31% of researchers use third party services but struggle to identify unethical ones, and only 55.4% respondents have access to ethics training. So the message of the article is that we need comprehensive training in research integrity and publishing ethics, especially in geographies
and
like China.
and KK, this is exactly why we've launched this responsible AI movement. The whole point about the responsible AI movement is to encourage authors to get a better understanding of the how AI can and should be used within the research and research communication process, to encourage their institutions to encourage that best practice, and to ask publishers to insist that there is the training and policies are in place for researchers, for their authors, for their board members, so they understand what good practice is in the use of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And we invite organizations, universities, publishers, research societies, research organizations to join this responsible AI movement and share what we consider to be best practice.
Yeah,
Or what the industry considers to be best practice, I should say, not just us.
and Tony, if somebody wants to learn more about responsible AI movement, especially if we have somebody in the audience who's representing a publisher, how can they find more about it?
Not just a publisher, a university, a
Yeah.
research organization, research society. They just have to go to the Inago site, inago.com, and search for responsible AI movement, and you'll get taken directly to the page, or even search it on Google, you'll find it.
Excellent.
Inago responsible AI movement.
Right, right. And we have this is another sort of slice of the same story, and I just want to bring up that this study is done by Taylor and Francis, and approximately 1,800 students, researchers in China were interviewed as part of the study. So I'm moving on to the next story. which is from The Guardian, which is interestingly coming up more in my scheme of things because of the excellent cricket coverage, which Tony, you may not be following because of the results of the previous tests.
Oh, hang on, we won the first one.
Okay, so
So just had a bad the second test. That's all right.
all right,
Everyone's
all right.
allowed to have a miss. We'll still win the series.
All right, all right. So, this one, this is a related story. Reveal thousands of UK university students caught cheating using AI. So, the Guardian has reported on a spike in cheating using AI at UK universities. Approximately, over 7,000 students were caught using AI tools like ChatGPT. And these experts believe that these numbers are just the beginning and the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Traditional plagiarism is decreasing as AI use rises, and many universities struggle to track AI misuse specifically. AI generated
Yeah.
work
Mm.
often goes undetected, and students use AI for all sorts of things, including brainstorming and structuring assignments. But
Yeah.
the problem is when they are using AI for basically writing the assignments or deconstruct or finding the solutions for some of the problems that they need to find the solutions for. And anyway, so universities are adapting assessments to manage AI challenges, and there are calls to focus on skills that AI cannot replace, like communication. So this is one other challenge that I'm sure you've come across in your meetings with institutions when you visited the US, and there needs
Well,
to be a yeah, go on.
sorry, no, I interrupted you, KK. Please.
No, I'm just saying that there needs to be. I mean, we offer a solution called DocuMark, which helps identify some aspects of helps prevent or raise awareness regarding some aspects of it, and the responsible AI
Yeah.
movement is another sort of thing that we are trying to do to improve the situation. So I'll
Yeah,
ask for your thoughts.
I've got two comments.
Yeah.
First of all, I think the language that the Guardian has used here is rather emotive. I don't think these students
Yeah.
consider themselves cheating. And the reason why we're encouraging this responsible AI movement is the students aren't necessarily aware
Mm-hmm.
of what good practice is, where AI should be used, how it should be acknowledged, how it should be used within their writing, within their own research. So calling it cheating, I think, is very unfair on the vast majority of those students who probably didn't realise that those rules were in place, or that if there were any rules within their institution.
Right.
But secondly, is to say, DocuMark exists for those universities who want to kind of establish, ground rules in terms of how AI can be used. How much their work is being simply generated using some kind of Gen AI tool,
Mm-hmm.
How much of it's been cut and paste from another source, how much plagiarism there is within a particular piece of content, and also how much of the work is actually being physically keyed in by the student,
Mm-hmm.
so they can actually measure. As long as they're using the DocuMark tool to write the document, they can measure how those different things are being used.
Mm-hmm. And where can people find more about DocuMark, Tony?
Easy. Just search Inago DocuMark on Google, or just go to the Inago website and search for DocuMark. You'll find a link directly to it.
Excellent. Tony, are you ready for the last stretch? Quick hits?
Yes.
All right. So first, a story from Retraction Watch. When PubMed got it right, Elsevier got it wrong, and a Retraction Watch helped it clear up. So this is about a set of papers that were retracted, marked as retracted on PubMed about 20 years ago. This is from a particular journal, and these papers were about a particular type of intervention, and that was deemed as let's say sub in terms of poor quality research. And an audit in 2004 found incorrect data in studies related to this, and that's the research quality issue that they found. And Retraction Watch's inquiry led Elsevier to finally retract these papers after 20 years, Tony. So that's a little too long. I'm sure that you're shaking your head in disappointment. It should be done faster, and we just talked about it. We need faster ways to bring the fact that a paper may not be of the highest quality and it is retracted, and we offer technological solutions to help researchers find these.
Yeah, and also, look, this is a world-class publishers publishing some extremely important journals in their field. I think the decision to retract a paper is a serious one, and there would have been discussions taking place for a lot longer than recent months to make those sorts of decisions. There would have been reasons why it shouldn't have been retracted over that time. So I applaud the fact that it has been retracted, if the evidence is outstanding, but no retraction decision should be made easily.
Right.
So there's a balance that has to be between speed and making the right decision.
Right, moving on to the next quick hit. This is a sort of a conference report from the EASE conference held in Oslo earlier this year, which was attended by our colleague Mary. And
Yeah.
so the context is that this is all about research misinformation and the means that the industry needs to adopt in terms of flagging research misinformation. And I just want to just ask you a question. You I do not think you attended the conference, right?
No.
But did you
No.
get the same?
Mary.
Yeah. Did you get the same similar vibes when you attended the SSP annual meeting in terms of research misconduct, and is that a trend in terms of the publishers and, let's say, all stakeholders needing such automation?
Um, Look, let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, research misinformation and misconduct isn't unique to the 21st century. This has been going on ever since there's been research.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's highlighting this kind of conduct, and the fact that we've got tools now, such as our Inago reports tool, that can more easily identify potential misconduct,
Right.
and also other tools like the paper mills alarm from Clear Sky Technology, for example, that can identify when there has been misconduct. But it's not a new phenomenon. It's something that's been going on for years. It's now just easier to be able to identify when it's taking place.
Right. We have another story from Retraction Watch. It is titled "Journal Corrects Nearly 100 Papers After Authors Fail to Disclose They Are on the Editorial Board." So this is the publisher we are talking about is Wiley, who's corrected nearly 100 papers due to undisclosed conflict of interest. These issues were found in papers published between 2020 and 2025 in a particular journal, and the Wiley, as the publisher, has updated the conflict of interest statements without retracting the papers, which I think is fair. But again, there are technological means by which you can find out whether conflict of interest is there or not, and whether it is stated appropriately in the context of ensuring that everybody declares their financial and non-financial conflicts of interest. Right, Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose Wiley made the right decision. I'm sure each paper was looked at individually in terms of whether the conflict of interest statement had an impact on the overall value of that paper, and they did the right thing in terms of making those changes. I suppose had they used tools like our technical checks report to identify whether the conflict of interest statement was in place, maybe they could have identified what needed to be changed earlier in the process, earlier in the publication process. But well done to them for identifying those changes and what needed to be done without fundamentally affecting the research value of the paper.
Right. A couple of quick stories from India. So this is a story from scroll.in. How reliable are the rankings of India's top IITs and IIMs, which stand for Indian Institute of Technology and Indian Institute of Management?
I've been to several.
Right. So this article, the author evaluates the reliability of the NIRF, which is a National Institutional Ranking Framework for Indian IITs and IIMs. It highlights data discrepancies and suggests potential exaggerations, and suggests from institutions, especially the IIT in Mumbai, and it calls for transparency and standardized reporting, which are something that across the world people are clamoring for in terms of institutional research integrity metrics. You agree?
There are organizations that have made careers and have been very successful in providing comparative tables, comparative measures for universities. And the higher up one can be in the rankings, then the more funding potentially that's made available. So these are serious things. Research institutions are serious about ensuring that good research is being well communicated, that good research is being recognized as well, and that their research has impact.
Right.
But there's always going to be, unfortunately, as we said in an earlier topic, there's always going to be the occasional player that maybe is trying to play the game differently than others. So any potential misuse should be highlighted.
I really like the Motorhead reference there, but moving on to Time to play the game.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Not good. Not one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. All right. So the last story we have: degrees of deception. How AI is hurting India's research credentials. So we are talking about how AI is making it very easy to create fake research papers. And Tony, unfortunately, 11 of the 15 worst universities for research integrity are unfortunately in India, and India has the highest number of high-risk research institutions. So
Yeah.
AI evolved from a writing aid to generating entire research papers, and fake papers, we have talked about it, with tortured phrases are common apparently from India, and it argues for reform as well as education in the context of research integrity in India as well. We've talked about a similar story from China, but it seems that all of the world requires AI related and research integrity related training and education as well, especially China and India.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would urge these institutions to sign up to the responsible AI movement to
Yeah.
understand what best practice is. I would urge these institutions also to invest in tools, not just our tools, but the tools that will help identify, possible integrity issues in the paper, such as the Naga reports, and encourage those institutions to put in place, training and ongoing persistent education and training measures so that every graduate student, every student understands what good practice is.
Yeah. And we offer courses for researchers and institutions through Inago Academy. If you're interested, you can check out Inago Academy's courses by
Yeah,
searching for Inago Academy as well. So
yeah.
that brings us, Tony, to the end of our episode 82, Everything Counts. Quick plug: where can everybody who's interested in the content that we publish, where can they find all the 81 episodes?
Well, all 82 episodes, once
Yeah,
this goes
right,
live, will
right,
be
right.
on our PubShorts channel on YouTube. So I urge you to stamp the like button and share the videos with your comments. And if you've got any suggestions for future topics, please feel free to share those ideas in the comment section, or to contact KK or me directly via LinkedIn, or to contact me at tonyo@anago.com.
Excellent. And with that, we come to the end of episode 82, Everything Counts. And until the next episode, this is Dr. KK signing off. Bye, Tony.
See you in the next one.